Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. I hope you can all see and hear me. Give me a five by five in the chats and all various chats. Let's have a look and see how many people we've got coming up here. So give us a 5 by 5. Hit the like button because we want to try and get over 100 likes on Rumble. If you're on any other platform, come over to Rumble. And if you're losing your passwords and doing all sorts of weird things, I don't know what, I can't help you with things like that. You've got to do it yourself. But it helps if you remember your password or you put your own password in. And that's not to any particular person, that's to everyone who keeps sending me messages saying that. Truth Crusader is out there, so 5 by 5, well done. Majorly, I want everyone to subscribe. If you're not subscribed, subscribe to the channel. If you're watching on catch up later, hit the like button and don't forget to share. Sharing is caring and people need to know what's going on. I'm going to start the show off by talking about a particular individual. I am unfortunately going to share part of this. One of the guys, and I'll talk to you about a couple of things that's happening at the moment, right? So this particular person is, let me make sure I go to the right thing and share it. Don't forget I'm still not set up properly yet, but we'll put it on and hopefully you can see me and the camera don't click off. This guy, I've put enough in the description for you to understand what's going on with him. Goes out to China 4 months ago, bigging up China. He's actually walked past the police out there and he's frightened of getting them on camera because he don't know what they're going to do. So he takes the camera off them. Just to make sure you understand, he is married to a Chinese lady. She is now a migrant to, I'll take it, England. And it's no wonder he's bigging up these people. I'm seeing lots and lots and lots of trolls from the Restore Britain. I'm seeing lots and lots of trolls from Reform, and I'm seeing lots and lots of trolls that are trolling on behalf of Advanced UK, which sounds like a finance company or something, doesn't it? It's a bit weird. But just to make sure everyone is clear, very clear, who and what he is, right? This guy is basically in this video, which, I mean, I don't want to promote his videos. I try to stay away from the geezer. I'm not interested in him at all. He's a typical British Soviet barrister, right? He's typical of the state and turning the state's power on you. And that is who this geezer is. And it turns out he loves China. His wife's Chinese. And he's advocating, it appears in this video, although he asks you the question, what do you think about that? He says what a great idea it is in so many ways, so convenient, digital ID, right? You should all be aware that I am completely opposed to digital ID. If you go and have a look at the English Constitution Party's website, you will see a digital Bill of Rights, which forbids everything that this guy is talking about, right? If you are going to go for the convenience, and I see too many people out there pinned to their mobile phones, everywhere I go, it seems they're pinned to their mobile phone. It's just like they've been brainwashed. And all they do is use their mobile phones for convenience. You know, sometimes life is maybe a little bit more difficult if you do it the old-fashioned way, but you are having all your thinking skills taken away from you. So this person has now been accepted onto the advisory board of Restore Britain, from what I understand. And it is further evidence, in my opinion, that all the wrong infiltration people are getting involved in that. It makes me not trust Rupert Lowe, because if you're getting involved with people like this, England is dead, right? So this is going to be the last time I speak of Advance UK or Restore Britain or Reform, because we need to concentrate on England and we need to concentrate on what we're doing, right? Because we're the only ones speaking of England and representing people and our constitutional rights, our common law rights of the English from a convention parliament. This guy does not accept that at all. And in my opinion, Restore have made a completely wrong move, right? Just to make sure you all understand that. So did you all see that on the screen? Do you understand what I'm saying? I was at an event and someone mentioned him. What I thought was quite amusing to some extent. And they said, is there anyone you like? Because my ex-wife used to say that. And I just laughed. I said, listen, I'll just tell you the truth. It's my opinion. You can do whatever you want to do, but we've got a very dangerous situation occurring in England. And I'm not going to say too much about this. I was supposed to be on a podcast at 5:00 this evening. Guy sent me the link yesterday. It was a guy of Northern Ireland. And he wasn't there, right? So I went to go on the podcast with him, and it was explaining certain things. Unfortunately, I then rang 3, 4, 5 times on his mobile phone, and I believe his wife picked the phone up. She said, I'm sorry, he's not available. He's not here, and that was it. And I said, oh, it's just that I found it a bit strange because he arranged to do a podcast tonight. And then she went a bit quiet and said, I'm not going to lie to you. He was arrested at 5:15 this morning. I said, all right, what for? She said something to do with protests. She said, I don't know all the details. I just know that they carted him off at 5:15 this morning. I've been trying to deal with everything. I said, yeah, that's all right. She kept apologising because he didn't do the podcast. I said, don't worry about that. I said, but the podcast was about what you should do if you get arrested at a protest. And so she laughed. And I said, exactly. So I said, I've no doubt about it. She said he's going for bail tomorrow. So they've not bailed him yet. They've kept him in. So just to make sure you're aware of this, and I'm going to say it to everyone, there's another group of people that have been arrested and are in custody, right? And they've been remanded into custody. All of these are people appear to have British solicitors and British barristers that are completely and utterly for the state, right? I've been asked to come and talk to some people, which I will do, but I want to make sure I emphasise a few things first, right? So the Epping protest currently, I think it's called Bell's Hotel. There is a court case ongoing, and it's in the Court of Appeal. The Home Office have basically said that the rights of refugees come before the rights of people of Epping, right? You can now see, whatever happens, not only is your government, but also your parliament, which is the British Parliament, is against you, right? Crucially important, I see something from GB News slagging off Sir David Bean or Justice Bean, right? I want to tell you, the fact that he was in a matric tape, I don't know what's going to go on in that case. You're only as good as the barristers. And again, if the judges are ideologically aligned, meaning Marxism, communism, or fascism, that is forbidden under English law. And then people must be purged from our system of governance, including the law courts, including the judiciary, including King's counsels, barristers, and solicitors, right? That's what the law books tell you. And I've showed you that, right? So it's not me making it up, right? This is not Sovereign Pete talking to you, right? Or any of them other fucking idiots that are getting people banged up. I've been there, seen it, and done it, and I am telling you, right, there are certain aspects to this, including Justice Bean, right? So one of our members was arrested at a protest. This was some time ago, maybe even a year, maybe 18 months ago. They kept him in custody over the night. He never said anything. I wrote out his case stated. The police had arrested him for harassment and alarm distress, Section 5, public order offence, and they had arrested him for telling them to fuck off, right, and calling them dickheads. Upon investigation of the statute, it turns out that Section 5 of the Public Order Act and under harassment, alarm, and distress is what's known as a summons-only offence. It is not an arrestable offence. And they arrested him, handcuffed him, dragged him up, blah, blah, blah. Just to make sure you're aware, that the defence that was put forward was partly in relation to Justice Bean, who had already made it clear from the appeal courts and quashed the conviction of someone telling a police officer to fuck off, right? He quashed that person's conviction, and he stated, because the police didn't like it, that it isn't unlawful to tell a police officer to fuck off. It does not cause them harassment, alarm, and distress, and the law was not put in place for that purpose. And he basically said it's not unlawful. It may be immoral to swear in public or to swear at all, but it is not illegal. Just to make sure you're aware, there are people online currently suggesting that Justice Bean, I'm not saying all judges are bad, but he's been quite a good judge, and especially in relation to protests. But once you make them judgments in relation to whatever you want to make them to, whilst you're using a statutory defence, which you're entitled to do, right, because it's a statute, the criminal law in relation to the Public Order Act was a statute. There are set, and you've got to be very careful. That's why you should say nothing until you speak to someone like me, right? Certainly don't have a solicitor, don't have a barrister, and you say no comment. You do not speak. Once you've been arrested, you say no comment. You might end up with a few days in the cells, but a few days in the cells is better than 6 months or a year or 5 years, right? Because depending on who you use in the criminal trial, you must also go for a full-on jury trial. Always opt for a jury trial. Always say no comment, and if you can, contact me, right? They don't, so again, in that case with English Bulldog, the magistrate threw the case out against him because she'd read through the paperwork. It was a case stated, which you have to get in a set time period. Again, all of these people have been advised incorrectly, and especially by the free man of the land idiots and the Sovereign Petes of this world, right? And she awarded costs to pay my costs of £1,888. You all know where that figure comes from. That's how many people have been killed in police custody since 1990, right? And you can go and get that from the inquest site. It's on there. It tells you what it is. That's why our fee as the English Constitution Society is £1,888, right? Or if it goes on to an hourly rate, it's an hourly rate. She approved them costs, right? And awarded cost to Bulldog. And to be fair, when the application was made to pay, the monopoly of the barristers and the judiciary, etc., the government refused to pay me and said, "You're not a lawyer." All right. So again, they've got a monopoly where their own people trained to X standard. So if I talk about what happened with doctors and COVID-19, the doctors were trained by the pharmaceuticals to jab you up and charge you and say safe and effective, right? We all know that that's complete and utter bollocks, right? But doctors are trained by the pharmacies. The pharmacies have got control of the universities that train the doctors and train the doctors and nurses in the hospitals. The pharmacies conduct the training. You've got the same situation with the law, right? You are far better off having a self-educated, 30 years reading law, someone who has had an audience in the High Court, more than 10,000 hours experience of constitutional issues. And these people have all been misinstructed. So think about barristers, KCs, King's Counsel, judges, solicitors, being more or less a mirror of a Soviet society where the same thing happens with doctors, right? There's no difference. And people need to understand, and you need to be sharing this because it's important to understand that that particular judge, Judge Bean, was the very judge that quashed a conviction in the Court of Appeal and stated that he was sick and tired of these offences coming up. It is not a criminal offence, right? Well, secondly to that, it was me who highlighted it wasn't an arrestable offence. It was summons only, right? Now, if a police officer asks you for your name and address for a summons and you refuse to give it, right? Now, you can argue the legality of this at a later date. If you refuse to give your name and address, that becomes arrestable. But if you've done nothing wrong, that's when you sue the police, right? Because if that's a false arrest, right? And there's a number of torts that come into play, and for them torts, within a 28-day period of getting a response from the police solicitors on the tort going forward, you must make an application within 28 days for a jury, right? And you will get a jury. Now, there's another judge, which I'm about to show you. Hopefully you'll see this. And again, I want you all to remember, before I go on to this, trial by jury, right? Who's it by? Lord Devlin. Who is this book by? Hamlin Lectures, 8th series, trial by jury. And again, everything is in there you ever wanted to know about juries, right? So now what I'm going to do is show you this because it's important. And then we're going to get, so they're trying to stop juries, right? Let me have a look and I'll show you this. So this, I believe, was today, or sorry, 2 days ago. This is in the Telegraph. I was a judge for 2 decades. Plans to scrap trial by jury are extremely disturbing, right? Now, I'm old enough to remember when the barristers took to the streets when they were stopping the right to silence, right? They say the measure would be temporary, but I fear once axed, the ancient right will never be restored. And this is a judge, right? Justice Robert Hardy. So all I'm saying to you is not all judges are bad, right? But many of them are because they are Soviet in nature. Many years ago, a distinguished judge, Lord Devlin, remember what I just showed you, right? There's the book, little book he wrote for the Hamlin Lectures. Lord Devlin described the jury system as, quote, the lamp that shows that freedom lives, end of quote. The lamp that shows that freedom lives, right? By that, he meant no oppressive government or judicial system could punish subjects charged with serious offences unless first convicted by a jury of 12 men and women. And the women only come in 1929, I think. Chosen at random, right? By the way, they don't choose at random anymore either. The government is now considering restricting the ancient right of trial by jury. Cuts to the court system after the financial crash of 2008, compounded by delays because of COVID, have led to a chronic backlog in courts. Right, I'm going to stop there a second because it's really important that everyone understands the reason why we've got a chronic backlog is because administrative law and more laws being compiled and moving away from the common law system and into an administrative system. And by the way, the current CPS have only existed since 1985, right? Prior to then, it was a different system. What you're seeing is the progression of communism, of Marxism, of fascism, of an authoritarian government and the ruling class taking control of England, right? It's really important you understand that. In 2019, there were 33,000 cases awaiting trial in England and Wales. Now there are almost 77,000, leaving some defendants and victims waiting years for justice. What did the Magna Carta say? And still says that justice delayed is justice denied. In an independent review of the state of the criminal courts published last month, now just understand who this geezer is, right? Sir Brian Leveson, a Jew, proposed a radical solution, removing the jury for thousands of criminal cases. Cases such as fraud and bribery could be heard in judge-only trials. He suggested as a measure to reduce the risk of total system collapse. I would argue, however, that we must protect this ancient right now more than ever. And I would agree with this judge. As a 25-year-old bar student in 1965, I stood on London Bridge as Winston Churchill's body left Tower Pier after his funeral at St Paul's, and the dockers on the opposite bank of the Thames at Southwark memorably lowered the deck cranes in salute. I remember that from the videos, not that I was actually there. The memory was so vivid in my mind that it was somehow fitting that some 30 years later, I would be a judge sitting at Southwark Crown Court, by now built on the site of those docks. In light of Leveson's review, one of the main arguments for withdrawing the right to trial by jury is that fraud trials are too complicated for a jury to understand anyway. So they may as well be heard by a judge-only trial. So what they're suggesting is you're too thick to understand fraud, right? And only a judge is clever enough to understand it, right? So there's more in this. I respectfully disagree. In my time at Southwark, from 1992 to 2011, I heard innumerable fraud cases. Southwark was an efficiently run court with good judges and a good staff in support, and it became the main court for trying of fraud. In my experience, the jury is vital in such cases. The challenge for the prosecution is to satisfy the jury so that they are sure not of some financial technicality, but that the defendant has been dishonest. Dishonesty is a concept juries are well able to understand, perhaps even more so than a case-hardened judge. Moreover, although juries are expressly forbidden from discussing how they reach their verdicts, there has always been a way of assessing the quality of their deliberations, especially in long fraud trials. Juries may be in retirement for days or sometimes weeks when there are several defendants and numerous counts on the indictment. During this period, they are entitled to return to court, and usually do, to ask to be reminded of parts of the evidence or a point of law. As a judge in such cases, I was often struck, as were others involved in the case, that the quality and shrewdness of their questions showed they had understood very well what the trial had been about. Vital public duty. Of course, the jury selection for long trials is to be considered with some care. In my career at Southwark, I often found that jurors answered a summons expecting to sit for no more than 2 weeks. They were often surprised to learn at Southwark that they may be required to sit for much longer. You might wonder whether such juries may, as a result, be largely composed of unemployed and elderly. In my experience, that was not the case. Large firms and organisations realised they had a public duty to release their employees, and the recently retired, with a wealth of experience, relished the opportunity to serve. The impression I received at the end of the trial was that jurors usually felt satisfaction at having performed a vital public duty. Most of my most satisfying moments was when, on sentencing a man for a so-called Ponzi scheme, fraud, where dozens were defrauded of their savings, the whole public gallery rose and applauded as one. I've had that happen in our cases, right? Of course, there are drawbacks to jury trials, one being the time and the expense. Until quite recently, once jurors had been sent out, they had to remain together collectively until they had reached a verdict. And it was not unknown to suspect that occasionally deliberations had been prolonged in the expectation that the whole hotel accommodation would be provided overnight. Strict warning now, at the end of the day, not to talk to anyone about the case overnight seems successfully to have resolved that problem and saved much public expense. Moreover, jurors can choose to acquit in the face of the evidence. This may occur where juries feel overwhelming sympathy for the defendant, where they feel the police had acted unfairly or oppressively in some way, or even where there is objection to government policy. I saw this firsthand when, in 2003, the country went to war in Iraq in pursuit of weapons of mass destruction. Despite overwhelming public disapproval expressed in marches and demonstrations, one such demonstration was carried out by a young man who climbed the outside of a tall building in the city to unfurl a banner of protest. He got stuck halfway up. Streets were cordoned off. Traffic was halted while London's noble fire brigade rescued him. When his feet touched the pavement, he was promptly arrested for a public order offence. He was able to elect trial by jury, and some months later appeared before me and a jury at Southwark. He had absolutely no defence in law, and I had to tell the jury so. But the decision was the jury's alone. They quickly acquitted. It will be interesting to see how this plays out in the light of recent arrests of pro-Palestinian protesters at demonstrations in London, Cardiff and Manchester. I have long since retired and am aware that judges ought to be careful not to sound off too much in public, but the dilution of a right to trial by jury, once introduced as temporary measure only, can easily become permanent. This ancient right must be protected at all costs. So there is the article. Again, for those who want to see that article, I've actually got a PDF of it, and I'll put it in I can't put it in the chat, but I want you to understand what he's saying there is jury nullification, right? And he's saying that's why. So again, there's another law book I've got here that tells you we are ruled by Parliament as governance, but the equalisation of that governance is the jury, right? People need to understand you are being wrongly advised by a lot of these barristers and solicitors and lawyers, right? And you really do need to understand what your rights are. That is what I do when I teach people at the seminars, right? I've been there, seen it, and done it, right? And you must have no fear of arrest, right? That's what they're looking for. They're looking for you to panic, like these people idiotically, right? That talk to the police and say, "Yeah, but I've done nothing wrong." As soon as you open your mouth and you once arrested and you're given a caution, it's no comment. Don't tell them anything. Once you get to the station, it's no comment. Don't tell them anything. Once you go into the interview, it's no comment. Don't say anything at all. If they ask you for a cup of tea, do you want a cup of tea, mate? Or lass, or love? Do you want a cup of tea like they're your pal? Oh, go on, have a cup of tea, right? As soon as you say yes, or even no, right? They will say you answered a question under examination or interview, and then all of the questions, incriminating questions that they was asking your interview, will be put to the jury, right? So they'll read them out, and they'll say, and your reply was no comment, right? Now, unless someone's up there explaining to a jury properly that it's your absolute right to say nothing, right? It is for the state to prosecute you, not for you to prosecute yourself, right? So I just want to make sure everyone understands that. This is crucial because without understanding the basic knowledge, once you are arrested, right, no comment, because that's all they can use. Once they come into a court of law, everything else you say, he wasn't under caution, she wasn't under caution, you cannot use that, right? There are elements to this where they may you may be doing something. I know I've heard of a couple of things that's just gone on at the moment, but you need to understand something. As soon as you say, when you go, so you go into the magistrate. Now, if a judge turns around and says, "We're going to make an example of you," right, which I hear is currently happening to some people when they go into court and they're asking for bail and they're saying, "We're going to remand you." You've done nothing wrong, right, other than protest. This is where you shouldn't be using a solicitor or a barrister because they're no good, right? You need to be making an application to a more senior court to go for bail. And if you don't get it there, you can take it habeas corpus all the way up, right? It's a bail application that you can make to the High Court. You can make it to the Supreme Court, right? You have to go through the process, right? All I'm saying to you is you wouldn't have solicitor fees, you wouldn't have barrister's fees if you was using someone like me, right? I'm there to assist you, but you have to help me to help yourself. And that is you must remain silent. If you open in America, where do you think the Americans got it from? It's called the Fifth Amendment, right? You do not have to. You do not in any way whatsoever have to incriminate yourself. Do not ask or answer any questions. And as soon as you start sitting there saying, "I'm against these immigrants," "I'm against that," it's all being recorded and it's going to be put over that the way they will spin it against you in that court. Shut up. Right? It's a simple thing and you need to understand it. Now, for bail to be set, there is no reason whatsoever while you're being held on bail, if there are. First of all, they shouldn't be putting restrictive bail conditions on, right? Protest is not an offence, right? And there's a process they have to follow. If you are saying you're a journalist, if you are saying that you are a citizen journalist, you do not have to be registered with any press scheme. That is absolute bullshit, right? Now, you can't. I was registered. I've still got my pass here somewhere. I was registered with the Workers of England Union, right? And still am, as a journalist, right, and a broadcaster. So they then say, even though you've got a press pass, and by the way, this is all backed up. If you ring them up, there's a number on the back, go straight through, and they will say, is this person registered as a journalist? And the answer will come back, what's the number? They give you the ID number on the press pass badge, and you says that person is so and so and so and so, he's registered journalist, right? You don't need anything else, but you don't even need that card. The fact that it's an English press card, right? They don't like that. You need to be out there. You need to be ordering that press pass. Citizen journalists need to be standing up for England in England. In Scotland, you can get a different one that will look like a Scottish badge, right? Our one was an English press pass. Do you understand that? Now, you can make the argument. You can make the argument if you want, I don't need a press pass. That's fair enough. If you want to do that, right? You're making life a little bit more difficult for yourself. They're now putting out English flags all over this country. People need to go and do it. Why? Because it is upsetting the Marxist, communist, fascist government, authoritarian government that is currently in control of this country and has been since after the Second World War, right? So once you understand what's going on, you are now standing up for yourself in England. You are not British. If you call yourself British, you are aligning yourself with a Soviet system. Stop doing it, right? Stop this bollocks about a union flag. The union is an attack on England, right? The communist nation and it is a communist Marxist nation, right? Or Nazi nation, whatever you want to call it. Scotland is socialist. It is an administrative law system. It is different to England. They are overrepresented in the British Parliament. Sir William Wade said that in that book, right? Again, Hamlin Lectures, Constitutional Fundamentals, Sir William Wade. But none of these sovereign Petes of this world, none of these people out there have ever read any of them books, have ever read any of the stuff that's behind me, right? They don't understand the Constitution. They have been brainwashed, and many of these people are now infiltrating Epping and the various places. Let me just say this to you, right? When you start bringing people in from other areas, that's the wrong way to do it. The way you do it is individual protests all over the country because the system can't handle it. You're going to be backed up, but you need to be organised. So when one of you gets arrested, you have a list of numbers to call. So your wife or your partner or whatever it is says, right, he's been arrested, bang, 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 bang. So everyone knows what's going on. And then we can put the process in order, whether we need to do a habeas corpus application to the High Court. But there's a process you would follow before you did that. It's under the Bail Act. And I'm telling you now, there are judges out there that will say, that's not lawful, that's not lawful, that's not lawful, right? But unless you know what you're doing, and most of these solicitors and barristers do not, they are box tickers. They're administrative. They're taking their corner off the system to bang you up. That is very un-English and very British. Just like the black belt barrister that's now advising Rupert Lowe, right? going into London on the 13th of September. If you're going to do it, remember what I've said. Remember, there's agitators in the crowd. They've been put there by the so-called left. They've been put there by the system. The same thing happened with Peterloo in 1819 when the working class people were standing for the vote. Now what happens? The Labour Party themselves are a part of that crooked system. They always have been. It was the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers that funded the fucking Labour Party. Industrialists, bankers, pharmaceutical, oil companies. They were the ones that funded the Labour Party. The Labour Party was founded by the Fabian Society. The Fabian Society are committed Marxists. People need to understand what's going on. Black belt, if you've missed the first part of the show, Black Belt Barrister is now part of Restore Britain. And what you're now seeing, I'm seeing, is loads of trolls coming at me. Every time I put a thing out there about reform, loads of trolls coming at me, right? Let me tell you something, you don't want to get involved with any of that shit, right? They are literally infiltrating that group. They're infiltrating reform, that they've already infiltrated reform. They are infiltrating various other people. They are extreme lefties, right? And again, there's a high degree, in my opinion, of naivety from certain people in them groups. I do not trust Tommy Robinson at all. From the time he said, if you don't support Israel, you are a jihadist, right? That was it. Before then, I was up, down, up, down, up, down. Some of the things good, some of the things bad. Let me tell you something, everyone, right? There was people well before him that will not be mentioned in polite society that were taken to court and went on a full trial for talking about the mass rape in England, right, of girls all over this country, right? And one of those defendants, his name was Nick Griffith. I don't particularly get on with it. I've never spoke to the geezer in person, right? But what I am telling you was he was saying it well before Tommy Robinson, right? In polite society, you're not allowed to talk about that. In the same way as you're not allowed to talk about the Jewish mafia, right? Or you're not allowed to turn around and say, we don't want Chinese people here if they're part of the Communist Party, right? We don't want them having association with anything to do with our country if they're part of the Communist Party. And yet we've got it all over the place. We've got people in the Fabian Society. Sir Jeremy Hayward was an executive member of the Fabian Society, and he was he was the cabinet secretary. He was in charge of the civil service. These law books tell you that's illegal. They all must be purged from our system. And you wonder why you got a problem. Getting back to this, so we are doing a seminar, Leon C, on the 28th, right? Let me see if I can bring it up on the screen. Let me see if I can bring it up. Touch wood, I'll see if I can bring it up for you. What am I doing now? English Constitution Society, and it should also be on the other one as well, right? The English Constitution Party. But this is an educational event. That's why it's important. So the seminars are done as the English Constitution Society. What you should be able to go to is events, hopefully. Where's my events badge? Where's my events? Events. Why can't I see my events? I'm not even sure if this is going to work. I'm not sure if this is going to work. In fact, it hasn't worked. Balls. Right, I can't bring it up because I haven't logged in on this laptop to that that one, so I can't bring it up and show you unless someone can send me the link to it and I can get straight in. Let me have a quick look. I'm looking at our group. Let's have a look. Question. I've got some questions coming in from people. Light Owl, what's the section 12? I'd have to look up. You'll have to give me a bit more than that. A section 12 could be anything. New Age Templar. QQ question, Big D, right? Have you heard of the Devil's Handbook? If you have, can you explain it in layman's terms? It goes into deviling and devil masters. I've heard the term before, but no, I don't know the detail on it. Step Pastel, can you get a jury when on legal aid? Of course you can. You'll be advised on legal aid to plead guilty because they just want to process you. That's the bad thing about legal aid, right? But yeah, you can go for a jury. Can you share the PDF on Twitter, then share the link? Can you share the PDF on Twitter, then share the link? You're not allowed. I can't share the PDF on Twitter. You can't share PDFs on Twitter. Dan Sinclair, DDD, Graham, John at Large. Why no and NCP plus funds? Why no? I don't know what that means. It costs money to run things. That's why we ain't got the money to start running any of that. Up and coming events calendar, ECS. Oh, right. I've just got the link sent to me. Constitutional seminar. Well, let's see if this works. I'm going to bring you on it. All right. So, events calendar. And it comes up and it's in there. It's under English Constitution Society.co.uk events, up and coming events calendar, right? And you can just click on that and then it will show you where that place is. I'll take it. And if you clicked on that, it will take you into, I hope it takes you into it. Why is that? There's a bar on there for some reason. Sunday, 28th September 2025 at 1:30 p.m. Location, Cafe Holger Del Mar, Unit 4, Clements Arcade, 9 to 11 the Broadway, Leon C, Essex, SS9 1PA. Let's have a look. Click here for the poster to purchase tickets. There you go. English Constitutional and Common Law Seminar. Discover your inalienable and constitutional rights. There it is. The whole detail is on there. And again, don't forget, we stand for self-determination, the number one human right. So the English flag, the Scottish flag, the Northern Irish independence flag, the Welsh flags only come about in 1947. The Cornish flag, been there years, and the Irish flag, right? But just to make sure it's there. So you've got all of that. Now, if you wanted to book a ticket, where's the link for the ticket? Click here or the poster to purchase tickets. Right. So if you want the poster, you would download it. Where is the English Constitutional Law Seminar? Buy tickets. Don't miss that. We send a reminder. So you would put email address in there, send me a reminder, but then I think it's there. And it goes on sale tomorrow, right? In 3 hours' time. And you would just click in there and then buy a ticket, right? It's as simple as that. It's as clear as mud. So if it's already been put out there, put that out there. Goonerman, Paul Stephen, yes, sadly. Most telly watchers don't know who Fabians are. Or Davos. Luckily, Ellen's outbursts and flags up, waking up telly lot. Yeah, no, I agree. And more people are looking at what's going on. The only thing I would say with Elon Musk is more and more of us as a group of people need to be contacting Elon Musk on Twitter. That's why I'm saying it's really important that you come on Twitter, I'm seeing a massive. We are over the target. We are being successful, and the reason I'm saying that to you is because I always get an increase in trolls, right? A lot of trolls, and I'm seeing that at the moment, right, on social media. So what you've got to do to combat that is to join Twitter and individually, not just retweet what I put out, right? That's not what you should be doing. You send messages directly to Elon Musk. He will see their messages with an English flag, or the English Constitution Party logo, and say, we are constitutionalists that are being oppressed and suppressed in England, right? And you make sure he knows it. And the more of you do that, the better. And if you all do it in your own words, you break the algorithm and he will end up seeing it. But I can't do it on my own. That's why I'm saying we work as a team. But you're going to see more and more oppression and suppression unless we absolutely steam up. So I'm just going to make sure everyone can see me again. Put an English flag in the comments if you can see me. Everyone who's part of this channel knows that Rumble allowed the English flag to be put on this channel so everyone could reply with an English flag when I ask questions. So whack the English flag on there. Do you all understand what I've been talking about? And I'm hoping you understand that juries are under attack. Again, in the early 1920s, the British removed grand juries from the English system. And if you speak to people in British advocates, lawyers, solicitors, they all say, oh, well, people, they was being abused by members of the public to bring indictments against people, etc. It's our way of controlling corruption, right? And you're going to see that in its fullest in America, right, where they have not relinquished at all the grand jury, right? Now, it is acknowledged that you have a jury pool in Washington, D.C. that's no good, but they are looking at ways of expanding that, right? So you'll start seeing juries from outside. It would be like having juries from outside of London, right, listening to cases. And again, never ever believe that the police are the good guys. In America, they largely are. The majority of the police, I've met many of them, they're great geezers, right? And women, right? In Britain, they're not. And certainly in the last 40 years, it has changed massively. Their training has changed. Their initial training of 2 years on probation, only being given access to members of the public that they was never allowed to be unsupervised access as a police constable, as a probationer, and you was known to be a probationer. You'd walk around with another police constable who was a full constable. Then you had to do 2 years worth of study on the English Constitution. If there's any ex-police out there listening to this, they'll tell you this is absolutely the truth, right? And then only when you got a good probationer's report and you passed the constitutional exams was you invited to pass out, take the oath, and you was given a general warrant card, right? Which is what gives you the authority to arrest people if you didn't see the crime. That's the only difference between a subject of the realm and an English police constable. Let me have a look. Chuck money, Sue Ellen. So again, there's loads of stuff going on in the background, and I wish I could help everyone. Don't forget, we ain't got the money. People bitch all the time. Oh, you're charging, you're a grifter. Listen, I drive around in a 25-year-old car. I ain't got a gaff in fucking Spain, like some certain people have, right? And driving and wearing the latest designer clothes and whatever. Any money we get in goes on petrol and goes on these books and goes on helping you and freeing England, right? And a certain individual that I'm talking about has done none of them things. In fact, he's got an Irish passport because he seems to like the European Union so much. How many Englishmen have gone and done that? Gone and got an Irish passport so they can travel to Europe? Ain't done him no good though. Silly Moo. Hello, Silly Moo. How are you? I ain't seen you for a while. Where you been hiding? Real Truth, please. Common Purpose. Tracy Truism. Silly Moo. Hello. Evening, Silly Moo. Don't forget, sharing is caring, right? The more you share this, the more people will see it. This is Rumble. The British regime hate Rumble, right? They've been trying to ban Rumble. And that's why this channel's still up, because they won't tolerate they won't tolerate an attack on free speech. Rumble is the place to be, right? But people don't know we exist. We're now up to, I haven't even had a look to see how many we're up to. I'm sure someone will tell me, right? But don't forget to subscribe. Now we're at 8,350. There's 500 on the other channel. So we're coming up to 9,000 subscribers technically, right? But the only people getting this message out there is you. We work as a team, right? It's not just about me. So when you think about things, everyone see me in, well, not everyone, but a lot of people see me at different court things and doing different things, right? That's why I like the auditors. They keep calm. They're very focused on the law and the area of the law that they know, whether it's flying drones, whether it's this or whether it's that or whatever it is. They'll be focused in on that area of law. And that's why when they go on to these hotels, etc., and they're reporting the facts of what they're seeing. Again, protests are perfectly lawful, right? The biggest protest ever in this country is raising the English St. George flag or the Whiffen, right? So for people who don't know what the Whiffen is a two-legged dragon. Anyone got a picture of it? Send it to me on WhatsApp. And I will show you a Whiffen, right? So the four-legged dragon isn't the English. The four-legged dragon is not the original English flag. The two-legged Whiffen is. It is the flag of Wessex, right? The original flag of Wessex. It's got a lot of history around it, etc. So the only two flags as a nation that you should be flying, because Britain is an island. The British Parliament is a political union parliament, right? The union flag is of the British. They're only 20% of the population. The 2011 census tells you that. The vast majority of the people here are English. You need to remember who you are, right? And you need to stand up. One way of standing up against these people is to raise the St. George's or the St. George's Cross or the Whiffen, right? And remember, St. Edmund was the true saint of the English. That's it. Merlin, I've seen pictures of your house, son, and I think it's absolutely fantastic. Right, there's a number of different pictures of it there, but let me play it up there at the moment. This is basically the Whiffen, right? And there's different variations of it, but it's a two-legged dragon, right? So I'm going to show you it now. And for anyone out there that don't know what this is, it's our original flag. That's the flag of the English. It come from Wessex, right? So we had 7 kingdoms of England, right? 7 kingdoms of England. And they come together in a common law union, not a statutory union, a common law union in 927, because they was all Christian nations. They come together and then there was a single king, right? That is completely alien to what's going on at the moment, right? And we had a common law jurisdiction and Anglo-Saxon laws, etc. And what they, meaning the Scots, had was administrative law, Roman law jurisdiction, a different system. They didn't even have an appeal system until the English said, listen, you can't keep chopping people, right, hanging people without any appeal, right? There needs to be due process. And there's a whole story about that, by the way. So just to make sure I bring this up, and there's another picture of one. It probably won't come out too well. But there's all different variations of it. But it's a two-legged dragon. It's called a Whiffen, right? So everyone got that. And the other one is the obvious one, the one that we've sort of been hijacked with, which is the cross of St. George, right? So when the lefties all start saying, well, he was a Palestinian, so all right, we'll have the Whiffen then, right? What's a dragon? You're going to tell me that the dragon was a Palestinian? And some say that George, who dispatched the dragon, is actually a Roman reference to St. George, the Palestinian, killing the English flag or the English dragon, right? So you've got to be very careful through history because there's different variations, different people say different things. I thought I'd seen a comment suggesting he was on later. Must be misunderstanding. Saying that again. Time for England to take back their English Parliament up and running in England, doing it with the law of England and Wales. Yeah, and the Welsh are with us. Wyvern. All right. Well, I call it a Whiffen. You can call it a Wyvern, but Wyvern rather than Whiffen. Or is it a Griffin? It's called something. Listen, I'm not an expert on flags. I'm just telling you that is the flag. Light owl. Let me have a look. Join at large. I've got my wine in my pocket on a coin. John at large. Well done. A wyvern. Light owl. The Welsh dragon lives on in our hearts. Let's have a step pastoral metaphor. Like Jeff Taylor mentioned the English Constitution Party and DD today in one of his streams. Well, that's the most unusual thing I've ever seen. By the way, I actually spoke to someone else today from a leader of another political party, which I won't go into, right? And we both agreed that there appears to be a front of the British pushing forward to try and suppress the English, and he did say it's only the real English, right? Won't back down. We are English, right? We're not interested in your British nonsense, right? And I had a conversation for about an hour, maybe longer, about quite a few things going on, including the case today in the High Court. Anglo-Saxon. William the Bastard replaced our white dragon flag. Let me have a look. Do you think it was a real animal? Do you think it was a real animal? Let me go back and see if there's any questions. I think it was possibly a real... I've got to show this. This is Merlin's house, right? And this ain't a joke either. This is proper. I've been there. This is Merlin's house, right? I'm going to show it to you on the screen now, right? Don't be frightened of saying you're English. This is Merlin's gaff. I love it. Keep doing it. That's what you're going to do. Put the English flag out there. I just had a chat with a geezer who owns the pub, right? And he was a bit worried. He said, "Oh, and I said, let me tell you something. If you put a Union flag outside this pub, I won't drink in here." He went, "Really?" I said, "No." Right? I said, "But you put an English flag up, you'll have people flocking in here. People will come in here and say, that's a place of sanctuary, right? And that's what it has to show people. You need to show people that the English are rising. That's what they fear the most. Show people that the English will rise, that we will take back our country, that we are under occupation of the British Soviet system, right? And once they realise, right, and they will, because there's going to be a lot of information released, trust me, right, they'll start getting it. They've got British Stockholm Syndrome, right? Derangement system. British Stockholm Derangement Syndrome, right? That's start putting that out. British Stockholm Derangement System. They all hate the English, right? We had the police for it. Portsmouth won't take them down. Kelly, we had police for it. Portsmouth won't take them down. Just keep getting up there. Who's Kelly anyway? Kelly? Who are you? Sir Lord? Whose granddaughter? Sir Lord? Whose granddaughter? Jason Peter Reardon? Does anyone out there? Where's M9090 gone? She was on there last night telling me she was going to come and keep my bed warm. She's disappeared. As long as it ain't a geezer. She got no chance. Right. Oi, love, and agree with all you say. Let me have a quick look on here. Oh, look. M is out there. M9090, how you doing, darling? Kelly, how you doing, darling? People, we need to keep rising. Don't forget, come over to Rumble, and because it's like anything, they'll take down YouTube, right? They hate us with a passion, right? They will take down my Twitter again. Trust me, they'll do it, right? I'm seeing the trolls coming at us. You know why? Because we're making a difference. We make a difference. Let me see. I'm not a geezer. Is that, what's your name? Emma? Is it Emma or is it a different name? You're not a geezer. Graham, RMA, truth. I was joking with you anyway, EM1990. Well, I weren't, because I actually got, and if he's watching this, he'll know what I'm talking about. I actually got invited out for a Sunday dinner, and there was a geezer dressed as a woman with a blonde wig and everything. And I was like, fuck this. I've got to sit here. Right. It was quite funny. That weren't the person, Kelly. Had that for 15 years. Britain, 7 that. Britain and Ireland, or Scotland, Wales, and England. That's it. Great Britain is called Great Britain because it is home to two nations and a principality. And the principality, in my opinion, should be a nation again. I want Wales. But Wales would still be a common law jurisdiction unless they have a referendum and say they want administrative law. Look in the mirror and take the mask off. Short for Emma. Hello, Emma. Candy Gloss. Tracy Truism. If I need to, but no, often now, Rob, I'm not catching all of these comments. I've noticed the correlation between the weather and the British positioning. Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's funny, Don, you've said that, because I was thinking that today as well. Did you take him home? David W. Did you take him home? No, I fucking never. I couldn't wait to get out of the gaff. There was a number of us there. Someone watching this tonight knows what I'm talking about, and he'll probably go, "Yeah, that was a bit naughty, right?" I consider them to be ill. Is a simple option to that. And Spike with a gold cart strap in its side. Don't forget to subscribe and share as platforms as possible. Yeah, and Spike. Where are we going now? So hopefully, I want everyone to understand something. I will come out and help people. I'll do certain things. But one, we got to fund it, right? So again, we've got the seminar. I don't know yet, I may be talking to some other people in Essex, right? But if I can assist people, I will. But if you've gone down the wrong path already with your solicitors and your barristers, you make me look bad, right? So I just want to make sure, because I don't, when I start talking about the law in a court, everything I do is absolutely geared to you and what happened, right? And I'm certainly not standing in court saying, he's a living man, right? If you want to know how to tell a judge that you know absolutely nothing about law, stand up in court and say that, or waive your birth certificate. Even worse, District Judge Andrew Shaw, private court, was a solicitor for Paul Barrow's Princess Diana. I was there when the media was gagged over fake court private paid. Even police said that my bail is not on record. I don't know what that's about. Kelly, AI is doing mine. Careful with AI. Not yet. What email to send to have already? You such a good egg, DD. Grasshopper. Hello, Grasshopper. Are you us? I'm going to put my Welsh accent in. No, I know you're not Welsh. All right, boyo. Groove Dodger, Mercia flag had white wyvern on a green background. You might be right there. I've never looked at that. You might be right there. I'm not going to say you're wrong. I'm not an expert on flags. Although, oh yeah, I'll tell you what. Let me show you something else. This will interest you. Tracy went and bought something, right? There's another one of these flags come up on the screen. So I'm going to briefly show you this. Let me show you this, and then I'm going to show you something else. It is important, though, that someone else has just sent another one of these. So I'll put that up on the screen. Can you all see that on the screen? I'm moving it about. There it is. Right, hang on. Let me see if I can get that up there. Right, that's the original English flag. If it was on a gold background, as far as I remember, I might be getting this slightly wrong. If it was a gold, it was the King's flag, right, or the regal flag. And if it was on a red background with a white dragon, it was the battle flag. All right, just to make sure you all understand that. Right, let me go back and find you something else, because I thought this was interesting. Let me have a look. Hopefully you're still seeing all this and the camera ain't switched off yet. What did Graham say? British Stockholm Syndrome something. I said British Stockholm derangement syndrome. Juicy and Lucy say she's going to put the here for you. Oh, right, thanks. Juicy said she's going to put the electric blanket on for me. Now, thank you very much for that. Now, let me just go and find this. I've got to find where Tracy sent it to me. What's that one there? The end. It's just beginning. The revolution coming September the 1st, 2025. I don't know what that's about. There's a lot of shit going on at the moment. I know that. There's a lot of things I haven't watched today either. Oh, not another church gone up in flames. A church in Wales was set on fire by 2 Pakistani migrants. Christianity under attack in the UK. Yeah, they've done another church. All of our oldest churches. Let me have a look and see if I can find this. Tracy sent me an image. I don't know who's that? Oh no. I think someone sent his picture, or his wife's picture. I don't want to put that on the show. Let me have a quick look. I'm trying to find. There was an image that Tracy sent me. Let's see if I can go and find it. Not sure if it's on there. Tracy, where is the image of them flags you sent me? You sent me an image of some flags, but I wanted to show people something because I think it's really important that people see that. Hopefully this ain't live. I just clicked on something I shouldn't have clicked on. Let me have a quick look. Was it this for one? Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. Right. So what I'm going to do is try and show you this. It is important that you actually work this one out. I'm just going to show you. This is out of interest, nothing else, right? So this is a book, I think, from 1866, right? So what I'm going to do is show it. The Flags of All Nations. This is a book from 1866, and it shows you all these flags, right? And then you will see all these different flags on there. But as you look down, you will see across the bottom of this one, hopefully you'll see it. Let me see if I can bring it up a bit for on the screen, right? You'll see across, so the second from the bottom, it says Great Britain, right? Remember, Great Britain is an island, right? And then it's got, there's the East Indian flag, right? The Union Jack, the Admiral red, the Admiral white flag, right? Ensigns. Then you have an admiral for something else, and then you have the Royal Standard, which is the one that's third from the end. Then you have the Irish flag, and then you have the Scots flag, right? Does everyone understand what I just said to you? right? So officially, there's the Scottish flag, right? Just to make sure you're all aware of that. And then if I go on to the next page, this was the book. Phillips 12 Holy Bible coloured scripture atlas, right? And then again, it starts showing you the ancient world in the book and the nations of the ancient world. And if you go and have a look at this, that nowhere in this map, as far as I can see, does it mention Israel, right? So you've got all the different places around there, India there. I'll take it that's Arabia. Then you've obviously got the Gulf there, which goes around that little bend. Where would, if I'm thinking correctly, was that on the other side? Is that Cyprus there? I'm not sure, but there you go. It's all there. And they are interested in them. Let me have a grasshopper. Need a campaign to get bells ringing all over the place instead of hitting saucepans. Yeah, but again, the people who own the churches or are in charge of the church, that would have been our way. The other thing is to blow the horn, right? So the English used to have a horn and blow the horn to say it's dangerous, and you're warning people. Sound cut for me, sorry. No, it might start playing up. It don't like it when I share things. Minnie Mouse grasshopper, be careful. Don't get too roped, burned. It hurts. I pop a light, it's scary. What the heck, Gooner Mum? What's going on there? Gooner Mum, probably they've done doors and gates open. A false flag soon. Brits shitting themselves. Expect false flag soon. They are going to be doing things against us, and people do need to be very, 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 very careful. Minnie Mouse, that's awful. What's awful? Grasshopper, I went to church for the first time on my own volition. I offered to start tuning the bell again, as in I heard it ring for 10 years. Oh, that was good of you. Gooner Mum, wake up, two security, two friends, let's have a look. Anything else on there? Anything? Oh, did. That's not good. Kelly, it's cut your own Santa me. Graham, RMA. Graham, just think of the Vauxhall car with the wiring. The Vauxhall badge is the... Oh, right, okay, is it? I didn't know that. So the Vauxhall car badge is literally an English car. Oh, so they say it is. Anyway, that's it. I've now gone on for an hour and 20. I hope you've enjoyed it so far. I'm going to try and piece everything together as I can. Don't forget, I've got to see the charges. I've got to see what's been said, and most importantly, I must know that these people have said absolutely nothing. Not telling me, but I've done nothing wrong. So you fucked yourself, right? Because they'll nick you. And again, you cause so much damage to yourself, right? I see. If you say no comment, no comment, you go for a jury trial. You get a jury trial. They'll drop it. John at large. No, it's the right thing to say. They can not get around it. Let me have a look. I see our old mate Tony Blair rocked up at the White House. Did he really? I'd like to see what's going on there. John at large, I do not understand. What's that mean? I do not understand. Is this one of them free man of the landers on there? It's free man of the land bullshit. John at large. Yeah, no, it is. If he's free man of the land, he better stop putting that stuff in any of my chats. Good night. DD and everybody, God bless. The Constitution is the solution. Kelly, no, still no sound, sorry. You got no sound. Cheers, Graham. There you go. Don't tell them. What's this one? Anarchy. I think they are desperate, dragging at the bottom of the barrel. I think they're struggling. So give us an English flag in the chat. Don't forget, we're not British. We're English, Welsh, Irish, Scottish, and Cornish. And we are a brotherhood of nations. Go back to the original of 1603, or worse than that. Just sack the monarchy, right? And just say you haven't done your job, so we're going to do it a different way. And the common law can give you a president, or it can give you a monarchy. We just want the Constitution applied. Our Constitution, the English Constitution in England. That's it. Good night. God bless. Don't forget what I believe in. The Constitution is the solution, and it surely is. So, au revoir, tiddly-poo. Say goodbye to each other. Let's see if I can go and pick up one of my major ones. That one I do. Or should we do that one? I'm not sure if that's a good one, because they all start getting leery at that one. Well, they don't all. Some people get leery. Private. Well, good night, God bless. Hopefully everyone's out there. And I am now going to switch the camera off.